Hey everyone!
Hi!
Welcome back to another MaJeliv video. Today, we're going to be watching Batman. The Batman.
Yeah.
To be correct. Very excited. The first time 2 years. About 2 years. 6 months until... It's been a very long time since we saw the teaser trailer. And it was very exciting seeing the first glimpses of this film. And now it is finished. Now we can go see it. And it is very, very exciting. Very thrilling. My adrenaline is high. I just cannot wait to witness this movie. And to say, I've seen the Batman.
And to see Robert Pattinson's take on the Batman. I've only seen Christian Bale's version. I briefly remember Michael Keaton's, but just to see, a different take on Batman is very exciting. So, yeah, I'm excited.
I am also extremely excited for this movie. Batman means a lot to me. He was, I think, the first superhero Halloween costume I wore, specifically Christian Bale's Batman, but I've always had a love for Batman. I don't read enough of the comics as much as I would like to, but I always have thought he has such a fascinating and intricate story. And like my sister said, I can't wait to see Robert Pattinson's take on Batman, but more specifically Matt Reeves's vision and tone that he brings to the character of Batman, what this Batman will be like. And I think the great thing about a character like Batman is when there's so many versions, every version brings a new dynamic to the character of Bruce Wayne. So hopefully that's what this Batman does. They bring a new angle and perspective to who Bruce Wayne is and who Batman is. It's been 2 years of us waiting, like my brother said. We watched the DC fandom teaser in August 22nd of 2020, which is wild that it's been 2 years now, but we're here. We're excited. We are running late again because we are, constantly running. It's kind of become a fun tradition. But anyway, we're gonna get there. We're coming in clutch. That was epic. But we're gonna jump in and watch this movie, enjoy it, and then we'll give our thoughts after. But thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you guys enjoy our reaction and enjoy the ride. Here we go. Alright, Dad, before we go in, what are some things you want to see? As a man who watched Michael Keaton as Batman as a kid, who watched Adam West as Batman as a kid, what are some things?
I want to feel like I'm watching Batman for the first time. Maybe because I expect him to be younger, so I expect him to have different kinds of things he's facing. That's really it. I mean, it's Matt Reeves, and with the cinematographer that's assigned, I expect a great visual experience. Robert Pattinson is a great actor, so I'm certain we'll get a good Batman. But will it feel new? Will it feel like a new perspective? I don't know. We're going to find out.
So I'm excited like Dad to see a new take on Batman, the Batman. It's funny because it's the Batman, but it's like the fourth or fifth Batman, so it's like the one. And a good story. I'm always about a good story, so that's it. I'm excited. Let's go.
Get the way. Who wants to start?
Well, I mean, there's a lot. Man. Well, it was good. To say the least, it was good. So there's no disappointment. There's nothing bad about the movie at all. And I'm understating it, of course, because I'm not a fan of raising expectations for people watching. But I loved the movie. The perspective, just every aspect of it, the music, the cinematography. So just overall, I loved the movie with all of my heart. It's starting off. The superhero movie is gonna be hard to beat throughout the year.
What about it made it different for you?
Well, there was heart to it, a lot of heart, and just the visuals, as well as the action. It all felt very intentional, and you just, oh man, the world around Batman just feels so real, and therefore he feels real. But also Robert Pattinson, oh my gosh,
Dude,
fantastic performance, and everybody, oh my gosh, the detectives, the villain, everybody just on their A game, so believable. It felt so raw and so just jaw-dropping. Jim, I would keep on talking forever, but I need to pass it on.
I wasn't complete awe with the cinematography and the choreography of everything. And like Josh said, it was a good balance of everything. Like there wasn't too much of this. They put in enough of that, and they really took their time with the movie. It's like nothing felt like rushed, I would say. It definitely did not feel rushed, which I gladly appreciated. It was almost 3 hours long, like 5 minutes and it would have been 3 hours. So it was just, like I'm like still just like in awe with the movie. It was really good. I don't really have like anything I had issues with. Like also Zoe Kravitz is her name, I think. She killed it as Catwoman. So I loved it.
She really did. She killed it.
Yeah.
If you're watching this, incredible job.
Yes.
Okay.
You were just fantastic. It was so beautiful, and just to see really get to see Batman like really discover what he's really doing. This is more like what is it called, an early stage to him really figuring out what he's really being called to do, which I really appreciated. It's kind of a different viewpoint from it. So I really liked it. This is really our first Batman we watched in theaters. So for this to be the first one, I feel very grateful. So overall, I am absolutely in love with the movie, and I would totally watch it again. I would totally sit in for 3 hours and watch the whole thing.
We're gonna watch it again. We're gonna watch it again. That's what I said.
Oh yes, 100%.
Yeah.
All right.
I loved it. I love this movie. The acting was amazing. The action sequences were awesome. With Batman, I know he's always like violent and very rough and tough, and there was a lot of heart to Batman in this one as well, which I loved. And then also, I noticed with past movies, like I've always felt like when they're fighting too much, it's like it becomes too much as an audience member. But this one didn't feel like that. It was like everything was just enough of everything. Like it didn't overwhelm. I'm in love with this movie. I want to see it again. The only thing, I don't know if you guys agree with me, was that I kept hearing Darth Vader's song. They used music that was very similar. It's like dun 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 dun, but not this. Like I was like, I hear Darth Vader the entire movie. Like the Batman music was very Darth Vader, and it was distracting to me. That was it. That was it. Everything else was perfection.
It wasn't until she pointed it out that I was like, yeah, I hear it. There's a difference in keys, but it has a similar,
not the same thing, but
similar kind of, it's different, but it's very similar.
To me, it was like, did John...
And as diehard Star Wars fans, it's kind of hard not to hear that.
Yep.
Let's see, what do I think? How to talk about this without spoiling it. The little boy in me that used to watch Batman back in the, in the days of me living in Colombia watching Adam West was thrilled. I loved the movie. I absolutely love this movie. DC's finest up to this point.
Yep.
I have every reason to have faith in Matt Reeves and whatever he'll bring to the DC universe. I'm very excited to see what else they do. I know we're kind of avoiding spoilers for now on my initial thoughts, but the performances were far better than I guess I had an expectation. It's kind of hard. It's really, I was trying not to have expectations, but it's hard not to, because you can't help it. While it's going on, you start to compare to all the different angles that have been taken, the versions of Batman and Catwoman, and Michael Keaton's Batman Returns was very clearly in my mind with all the different character reveals of Catwoman, the Penguin, and Riddler, and all that. So yeah, you can't help but compare it to what I've seen all through my life. But yet it felt so new, so fresh, so absolutely innovative. And the visual experience we just had was glorious to be seen again and again and again. It was artfully, heartfully made. And
it was beautiful.
It was absolutely beautiful.
And Colin Farrell disappeared.
Yeah, he wasn't in this movie.
I didn't even know that was him.
I know. He almost
until
like
the end, I was like, "Wait, Colin Farrell's in this?"
I know. Yeah,
when
the
you
makeup.
told me, I forgot that.
Yeah, makeup is fantastic.
Yeah, the Penguin.
The makeup is really great on Colin.
Nice.
Not just the makeup, but he like the voice. He
Oh yeah.
embodied the,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such great scenes. I mean, everyone was so flawless. Yeah, go see this if you haven't. Go see it. It's worth every minute. I was concerned when the first trailer came out for many reasons. One of them was, are we going to get another rushed superhero movie? Are we going to just get this, like, really, you know, just chopped up version of the Batman? We did not. As Jemmy said, this thing was almost 3 hours, and I loved every millisecond of it.
Yeah, you didn't feel time go by.
No, I was grateful. There was moments where I was like, oh, please don't end, please don't end. And I was like, wait, no, this is supposed to be long. Let's go, milk it, milk it, milk
If I'm
it.
being 100% honest, sometimes I'm like, I don't want to be like biased here because I love both universes and not one against the other. But this is like one of the first superhero movies where I'm like, when is this gonna end? But like in the greatest way possible, because I didn't know where this was going. And I'm like, it can't end here now. This is like, how is this gonna conclude? So it just did it so flawlessly. I just had to point that out because I was just thinking about that.
excellent.
Like this is like one of the first superhero movies I really felt that, and that was really a good feeling.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that the marketing for this movie also wasn't so intrusive on the story. I think it really left a mystery and as to what the story would be. It wasn't necessarily on the story, but what to be excited about, the action, the visuals, the music. And so I think on the advertising note, because that is a big factor in a movie, is the advertising of it. I think the advertising was perfect. There's just not a lot that was spoiled, and it didn't ruin the experience.
There's so much to say that's amazing about this movie. One of the things going into it that I kept asking is, okay, what's going to be different about this movie? Because I think everyone that loves Batman can agree. There's certain things about Batman that we all love, and certain things that are kind of consistent themes with Batman. You know, like, for example, the relationship with Alfred and Bruce was there. It was different, but it was there, and I loved how it played out in this story specifically. I'm almost talking about the look of the movie, and not necessarily, I mean, yeah, cinematography was phenomenal. It was so beautiful to watch and look at, but also the settings and the production design and the way that they were laying out the places that the characters would be, you know, where the scenes were and the way that Gotham looked. It was fascinating how they were able to give it kind of this truly like gothic feel. It was so great. You know, people have said it about Zack Snyder's movies where every shot is like a comic book. And with this movie, what I loved, and we're kind of going to blend into spoilers here, so spoiler warning. We're going to get into spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie, like my dad said, go out and watch it and come back and watch the rest of this video. But now as we enter into spoiler territory, one of the things that I loved about this movie right as we got into it was the voiceover narration that we got from Batman. It made it so much more personal, kind of broke the wall in the sense that fourth wall where I felt like we were reading a comic book sometimes. In a way that, like, you have, like, those boxes.
It was written like a comic book.
Right, it was written like a comic book. You have the dialogue, but then you have the moments where Batman is talking like it's a comic book, like the inner thought, if you will. So that was something that right off the bat appealed to me very much. I loved it. And at that point, one, I've always loved mystery, and we saw a lot of detective Batman, like the mystery, and we saw the mystery unfold with him. So we really get to right off the bat jump in. We start on Halloween, which, you know, there's the long Halloween. There's all those comics about that. So I thought that was kind of cool. I mean, there's just so much to talk about. I love the theme. The moment I loved that my mom was talking about was towards the end on the bridge when they reveal this guy who looks like the Riddler. He says, "I'm vengeance," when they ask him who he is. And that's such a pinnacle moment because I feel like that's the moment where he becomes Batman. That's the moment where he sees himself, rather. He sees what he can become with that moment when this other guy says, "I'm vengeance." And then he jumps down to the muck of darkness with the light and the visual of him leading the people out. I mean, it was so beautiful to watch. And now he stands for justice, you know, which is great, but he always is going to have that struggle, that thin line. And I mean, there's just so much to talk about this movie. It's definitely going to take a bit to kind of digest fully, but overall, I mean, those are the things that appealed to me right off the bat. The tone and how Matt Reeves took his opportunity to hit a different angle, a different lens to Batman that somehow enhanced him and enhanced the way we see him, but it didn't violate the character. So anyway.
Yes, definitely. You first, love.
So I love the parallels they made with the little boy and his experience losing his father, and then him reflecting on himself. And I've loved how, like, all these villains that come into his life, like the Riddler and like Joker, like especially the Riddler in this movie, it teaches him so much about himself. Yeah. It's almost like through their journey, he learns more about him and who he is. And the same thing with, I mean, yeah, with hearing the Riddler's history and his past and all of that, it really helps him to acknowledge, like, how he's blessed, you know, and the ways that he was better off than other orphans, per se. And then for him to learn the truth about his family and then see Alfred in a new light. Like, all of those parallels are amazing to me. I think that was my favorite thing about this movie. And just disclaimer really quick, I know people like to see Batman kick ass really badly.
He did.
And he did. And we didn't see the slicing of the finger. I was happy. I did without, and I'm very pleased that
but Batman didn't either, you know? So that's kind of the way that it's film made, is that you see the things that Batman will see.
So I appreciated that. I love that they didn't hone in on those things that could be gross and gory, but they kept the truth to his aggression and his violence and his fighting power, his badassness, without being gross. That's it.
Well, it's that spirit. It's that spirit of vengeance that was driving him through. In the beginning, you hear the narration, which I second what Matthew said. Love that narration. It actually reminded me of Dick Tracy and like film noir and those narrated detective, great, films or shows or whatever. But I loved all that. But it's so wonderful to see the arc come full circle, where he's so. At the beginning, you hear in the narration talk about what his next target is. He chooses his target very carefully as to who he's going to lay vengeance upon, right? For choosing a life of crime and ironically a life of darkness, and he uses the darkness to veil himself to be the ultimate vigilante. And then to see that moment later where he chooses to go down into the depths to help people out of the flood. It's the first time you really see him helping people, innocent people. You don't see that throughout the whole film. That's the first time you see him realize other people are in danger and I need to go do something about it.
Because he learned from what the Riddler's craziness was teaching him in some way.
Right. And the visuals of that were so beautiful because that's where it became more than a superhero movie for me. He looked like a first responder. Mm-hmm. That looked like a scene for me from many disasters. It reminded me of 9/11. It made me think of all of the real heroes we have that go into the depths or go to the great heights to where people who are in need. And the way he extended his hand, it's like he just suddenly wasn't the Batman. He was a man willing to do what needed to be done.
Well, he wasn't vengeance, Right.
He was a man of justice, a man of service. It was great. It was absolutely a powerful
because a lot of police
moment.
didn't like him because he wasn't really serving for the right reasons.
Yeah, well, that's right. But it's ironic the way the tale is told, because he's uncovering this. Sorry, this couch is really noisy, so pardon me as I adjust. But he's uncovering all of these corrupt people who have just fallen to the seduction of money and the mafia, and then to learn the truth about the broken legacy in his family and the way it's challenged, and who to fix it. Who better to fix that name of Wayne than Alfred himself? But I love that reference that Alfred made about teaching him to fight. That was the best he could do. Because I had a memory of that scene in the show Gotham, the DC TV show, where it was the first time I saw Alfred actually teach young Bruce how to fight. Maybe many fans of you out there know what I'm talking about. It's a fantastic scene. I didn't watch the whole of that show, but I watched a good amount, and I love that moment of it. This is by far, to date, my favorite Batman, I would dare say, because it has so many layers of heart, so many moments of discovery for who both Bruce and the Batman have so much breakthrough moments in this story that it's just like no other, and the visuals of it are just absolutely wonderful. I will say, the little boy in me, and I don't know if this was intentional, Matt Reeves, this would be a question I would ask you if I was interviewing you, but the little boy in me saw a little bit of an homage to the shot of when Batman anchors himself to a metallic thing, and he walks down a building. It reminded me of the Adam West Batman when he would shoot his anchor gun, and they would just walk slowly, and the camera would, and they would just he would be walking like really slowly up the building and talking to Robin, like just talking like a whole scene, and they're just climbing. It was just great. I mean, he was running down the building, but as the little kid in me was like, oh, he's going down the building.
And they made him fly.
Yeah.
Like, what the heck? And his
he
car was amazing.
Oh, the car, the
okay, well, I'll give stuff for the other two
the
to
kids will
to
talk, but that's
disclose
my
because-
2 cents.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved. Oh, you were making comments about the grit and the look and texture of Batman in this. You know, it looked very pieced together, and yeah, he's got all this money, but it was all close quarters. It was just like, I don't know. There was a lot of grit and grime to it, and anger, and
I mean,
There was
let
bats flying around there.
It was.
let alone like there were so many shots in the rain at night.
Okay, really quick about the rain. Jenny pointed this out. I've never seen a car chase like that. Probably the best car chase I've
In
ever
the
seen.
rain?
In the rain.
Yeah.
I don't know how they shot that.
Yeah.
I want to know if that rain is
was
CGI.
That was insane. One of the best. I mean,
Yeah.
the choreography of the cars is one thing, but the way they got those shots, I don't know how they did that.
And the realisticness of it actually being in the rain.
Yeah.
And that's
Right. The intensity and the risk, the stakes were so. I was just.
No, in the way that after, obviously you've seen the shot in the trailer where he's upside down on the frame, but then there's a part where he looks in the car and the water's like floating up because he's upside down. It's like
And
so
the
good.
symbolism of the bat in the cage with all the rats. Like, oh, that was such a beautiful
That was also a-
sprinkling on there.
That was talking about a literary film. This movie is literary because that's a very specific moment in the book and the movie 1984. That is Winston's great fear is rats, and that contraption they used on that one guy on the old commissioner Peter, forget his last name. That was something that made me think of.
Guy.
Yeah.
It's a Delaney.
There was just so much to this there were layers that took us out of just a DC superhero film.
What about the relationship with Gordon? How did you feel about that? Like, because it was different than we've seen before, but I loved it. The whole like buddy cop thing that they had going, like the detective. I don't know. I loved it. I really.
You know, Batman doesn't really have a lot of people on his team, and I think it's great because, as you've all pointed out, we were all figuring out with Batman a lot of what was going on. One of the things we were figuring out is, can Gordon be trusted? Is he one of the corrupt ones? He definitely always leaned toward, he's got to be on my side, right? I should be able to trust him. He's the one that puts out the signal for me. So it was great. I loved the back and forth. You know, I wonder, is there anything that Jeffrey Wright does like he can't do? I feel like he could do anything.
Let's
He's
talk
got a
about.
lot.
You haven't talked about it. The Riddler. What about his performance stood out to you and made it?
You know what's really terrifying about the Riddler is that it says so much about Bruce's legacy, the Waynes rather, but it also makes a commentary on our social structure today and how the people who go unnoticed, they resort to some really crazy schemes, tragic even, fatal even, to be noticed.
Well, it's a very real thing. It's a very real thing. So
It's a truly accurate, I think, sadly, depiction of what some distorted minds will do to feel like they've affected society based on how they were affected, neglected, forgotten. So yeah, there's a very definitive big bad in this, and that great moment at that last bit where Batman realizes, wait, have I been helping you? Have I been helping you this whole time? And he just loses it. He gets so frustrated. Like, I've been played. I've been helping this guy. And that's what made this villain very fascinating. Because
What made him so haunting too is because when we get his face reveal of what he looks like, the look of his face of like, he's like the person you least looks like he would have done it. But you really see he's really the mastermind behind, like there's a genius in him that's almost terrifying, you know?
he had a childlike I'm not saying Paul Dano has a childlike face, but there's a childlike demeanor to the way he brought to the character, that
innocence.
You did incredible.
innocence
By the way.
that was still in his eyes, that showed he was still that broken kid, you know. But yeah, I mean, there's so much to talk about this. I mean, I want to watch it again. But anyway, any last thoughts you got, Josh?
Well, I agree with everything that they said because they hit on some really great points. My family pretty much covered it. I really do think that this movie is just, man, because when you watch the Christopher Nolan movies, or even the Tim Burton one, it really, like, it's just like, man, these movies are like pretty like impactful. Different elements to them. All of them are so different, but they all cover the same character, which is Batman. And it just comes to show that there's so much symbolism to his character, and there's so many stories that could be told with him. But that just proves the responsibility of telling a story like that.
I have a question for you.
Uh-oh.
What did you think of the bat and the cat relationship?
I loved it. I really did. I think their chemistry was really awesome. I do think, oh man, there was so much there. It was like his lack of trust for her at first, and she had such a heavy motive of trying to help her friend. But when she loses her friend, she kind of loses it, you know? And the fact that guy was her father, there was just so much drama with her character, and it like the whole thing about cats and how she was an orphan as well, in a way, not really having a dad in her life, but also losing her mom. So there's just so many like lost people. Like there's just filled, like the villain was an orphan, Batman's an orphan, and so was the cat was an orphan as well. So there's these people that are lost, trying to find their place and their footing and what they want, what they need. And so when these two run into each other, there's so much that they can relate to, and she can kind of get a sense of that from him. And he doesn't really trust her, but it's because he's survived that long without trusting anybody. But I think it was a really interesting dynamic, and it added like I think you have that noir feel when you have something like that. Does that make, like, the movie North by Northwest wouldn't be what it is if there wasn't that string music, there's so many intricate things.
The complicated romance. Right? Yeah,
right. There's the complicated romance is what makes this genre as well of noir, and that's kind of, it adds a very important layer to this movie, and yeah, I mean their relationship was so great. Just and also the details in the characters as well, like how she had the long nails.
Oh yeah.
And how she has the cats. It's just all so because even like they both are similar in that way. She has cats in her house, and Batman has bats in his house. The things that they relate to. They
both have a lot of one animal in their house. Right.
But I think one of the heaviest things is that this serum that he puts in himself ultimately is to save the cat as well, this person that he cares about. But then he goes really hard on this guy, right? And he just freaking beats his face up. I'm so sorry for that guy. But then he, after being in this almost trance of this aggression, he wakes up from it, and they're all looking at him like they don't know him. And there's a sense of disconnect because of this thing that he just did. And when he takes this guy's mask off and he says he's vengeance, it's almost shows that in his worst vengeful self, you really see what he could become. And that serum, that desperate fear of losing the cat, it almost awakened in him to do this thing. And so I think that moment where he sees everybody looking at him, Gordon, the cat, all of them, they were like, oh my gosh, who is this guy? Like, why did he just beat up this guy's face? And so he was just like, okay, I don't want to be this. And so that's when he goes and does what he does. because he doesn't want to be vengeance. He wants to be
Justice.
justice, but also
Something more.
something more.
Yeah.
He wants to really define Batman as something that's not just vengeance or a scandal. It's very... We're going to talk about this movie for months to months. Like,
I think that's the beauty of
Wow.
this movie is, you know, you really see that, what I loved about the way there's narration and stuff. It almost felt like a journal entry. It almost felt like a journal entry where, you know, where he's really trying to find out what he's really trying to do. You know, he's like trying to help people and do the right thing, but he's having this trouble, like, kind of knowing who he really is and what he's being called to do and stuff. So the fact that this movie put it from that viewpoint was just beautiful, because, you know, even without knowing like the origin of Bruce Wayne and the Batman, if you just come into this movie, it's not like a continuation where you have to know something about him. You're almost all unraveling it as the story goes.
that's what I was gonna say.
Mhm.
Is that as well? Is that I mentioned earlier that there was no flashbacks in this movie, but there were certain things that triggered memories in Batman, and it's when he saw the orphan kid.
Yeah,
It's
that was
very
really cool.
even if you don't know who Batman is, you would know that he relates to that child.
Mhm.
So you say so much without saying anything at all.
Yeah, there was a lot of scenes of just pure silence and just action, like movement, not like action, but like, you know, this movement of, you know, him looking, like you said, at the child, and then...
The pacing was honored.
Yeah.
They took their time. They really did.
I'm very happy this was an almost 3-hour movie. I was, like you guys said, I was worried about it being too short, but they just executed it beautifully. So, yeah, this is by far one of my favorite, probably my most favorite DC film right now. Definitely a good message for everyone. If you guys are able to, we highly recommend to go out and give this movie support. It's fantastic. Definitely an experience. So, yes, overall, this movie is amazing. Definitely go check it out and let us know what you think whenever you do. And yeah.
I love how I just heard the movie from out here. So that was very special. What were you gonna say?
I just wanted to say that I'm looking forward to seeing this a second time, because one of those final statements that he says, or thoughts in the narration, is this concept of scars and how they tend to make us angry. And I'm completely butchering probably this paraphrasing of the thought, but that's why I want to watch it again. They inhibit us from becoming great, and he talked about transformations. It's like they can transform us into something better than we were. And I relate so much to that right now in the season of life that I'm in, that I just want to watch it again with going into the movie now knowing that theme and seeing all of the intricate moments where that happens for him. So that's something to look forward to on a second viewing for sure. There's so much there, and I can't wait to watch it again.
Me too.
And that's our thoughts. I hope that we've said enough to get you excited about this movie if you're not already. We look forward to seeing your comments in the comment section, letting us know how you felt if you've seen it, and if you haven't, come back, see us again, share your thoughts then.
Quick thought on chatting. If y'all want to talk, we also have a Discord. If y'all want to, chat and stuff.
Got a specific DC chat.
Yes, specific DC chat. But there is a disclaimer that you won't have full access to it. You kind of have to go through our Patreon and stuff. Depending on what tier you sign up for, you get more access to certain chats and stuff. But if you're interested, there should be a link in the description below to check out our Discord.
You become a Spark, you can, just chat in the DC chat. That's all it takes.
Yep.
That's all it is. There.
And that Patreon helps us a lot. We're trying to create a lot of original content, like Matthew said before, in so many of our videos. Anyone that signs up would be great help. But meet us in Discord, meet us in the comment section. We're so grateful for your support. And go see the Batman. Come back and talk to us about how you felt. Until then, have a MaJeliv day. Go out there, spread your light.